And now, the LSU Football Fix with Preston Guy, presented by TigerBait, starts now.
And welcome in to your LSU Football Fix, presented by Celebrity Theaters. I'm Preston Guy, staff writer at TigerBait.com. Join with me, as always, each and every Monday night at 8 p.m. is publisher at Sports Illustrated's LSU Country, Zach Nagy, and a very special guest. We have Oscar Award winner Lathan Jr. As y'all know, it's been kind of a tradition every year before the season. We do an annual season prediction. So I've got my season prediction up here. We're going to talk to you about a few news items. Ed Ogeron talking about he went to the Pardon My Take guys and said he wants to get back in coaching. We're going to talk about practice notes a little bit. And then we're going to go with one bold take from each of us before we do our season prediction. But Van, man, it's been a year. What's going on, dude?
Having fun. Things going good at the Ringer. Everything is awesome. My annual time of nervousness and nerves. It's time now. It's beginning. I love the college football season, but it's also the most stressful time of the year. But I got a hair transplant, so I don't have to worry about my hair falling out. At least where I transplanted it might fall out in the middle. But I'm ready for LSU football.
Can I get a lean forward? Let's see.
So I brought the hairline back. It used to be that the hairline was all over here.
Okay.
I brought it back. I did not go to Turkey. I went to Zering Medical here in Beverly Hills.
Cool.
So it was fun. But yeah, now it's time to talk about LSU football, and I cannot be happier to do it.
I like how you're nervous about talking about football season, not all the big stuff you do on CNN and all that jazz. Football is what gets you nervous there.
Yeah.
All right. So CNN, you've done what? The Daily Show, Jimmy Kimmel, and LSU Football Fix. Which one of those is your favorite show to do?
LSU Football Fix by far. When I see you guys, I know it's time. So let's do it.
Preston Guy, Zach Nagy, greater than Jimmy Kimmel. Y'all heard it first from Oscar Award winner Lathan Jr. Well, it must be fact then. So let's dive into it. Zach, what's going on, man? You made it out to practice today, right?
Yeah, man. We got 15 minutes, short media viewing today. But look, they blessed us with the ability to go see the scrimmage on Saturday now. So kind of thought tomorrow would be the last day where we'd be able to go see them.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Now we get Saturday, so it's going to be nice. But nonetheless, man, got out there this morning, quick 15-minute media viewing. A couple quick takeaways from me is the offensive line shuffling. You got Carius Kern out there at right tackle with the first team over Weston Davis. And it was relatively short-lived. I mean, they rotated back and forth, but it's clear they're giving an opportunity to get out there with the first team and get some big-time reps there and keeping it simple on the offensive line.
How do you look?
You got Paul Mabanga in there with the left guard spot over DJ Chester, and it was short. They were just going through some walkthrough stuff, so we didn't get the opportunity to see one-on-ones or anything special of that nature. But nonetheless, having those kind of moving parts around there was relatively interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
And the other quick takeaway would definitely be Michael Van Buren. He's sitting there in a splint, has his fingers taped up on that throwing hand. He was out for practice. He was going through some mental reps and going through the motions, but wasn't throwing the ball. Wasn't going through any contact or anything like that. So you had Colin Hurley working in there as QB2. So those are the big takeaways on the day. Obviously, Harold Perkins was taking a load management day. He wasn't out there today. And same thing goes for Whit Weeks. Nothing too special there. Precautionary reasons. Quick media viewing. Nothing too crazy.
By the way, smart move to keep Whit Weeks sideline. How did Carius Kern look at those right tackle reps?
He looked good. I mean, it was just a walkthrough, so you didn't really get to see too much. It was that up-tempo drill that they like to do at the beginning of each practice, so you didn't get to see too much from him. But, man, to put him out there, there's obviously some trust in the youngster. This is a five-star offensive tackle, a guy that obviously has a ton of, let's say, upside moving forward. They want to get him on the field early. If they think right tackle's the spot, you can do that. But it seems like Weston Davis is going to be your go-to guy. So, for me, I think that's going to be who they roll with. But giving him an opportunity is still really good nonetheless.
Yeah, what did that mean? Rolling him out there, what did it mean? Did it mean it's more competitive? Did it mean we're going to see him Did it mean that they don't have faith in the offensive line unit that they've been rolling with through camp? Like, I'm asking, like, what did it mean?
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, I think it just gives an opportunity to a young guy in Carius Kern to get out on the field earlier than expected. But it also says a little bit about Weston Davis. Are they trusting him still? I mean, this is a former 5-star guy, Van. This is a player with tremendous upside of his own that Brad Davis just keeps on really, really just railing into every single practice. So does it say that he doesn't have enough trust in Weston Davis? It could. But at the same time, they might be just pushing him and having Carius Kern on his butt to try to get him out there and try to get the best out of Weston.
I'd say, especially at that left guard spot, it means that they're looking for something a little bit better. They're still rotating guys in and out. They're looking for something, but also they're getting pushed really hard by that defensive line. Defensive line, man, they look really good. I think I haven't been shy about this. I think this will be LSU's best defense since 2019. Now, a lot of people hear that and they're like, "Whoa!" But it's really not lofty praise. If you look back at 2020 and through 2024, it hasn't been particularly great. Look, we're gonna get to some comments here in just a second, guys. I can't get to every comment tonight. I do want to hear y'all's predictions in the chat about what LSU is going to do this season, what your season prediction is. I kind of have a vibe that I think 80% of the fans are expecting 10 wins or more. That's kind of been my vibe throughout this entire offseason. But I just like to hear from y'all. If you really want to get your comment up there, tonight's a great night. Get your super chats. I'm not going to be able to get to everybody. So get your super chat if you got something you really want out there, and I will try my best to get it up there in a timely manner. With that being said, I do have to thank our title sponsor before we dive too deeply into our topics tonight, guys. Of course, y'all see the logo at the top. They've been our title sponsor since we started in the very beginning. It's Celebrity Theaters, guys. They're Louisiana's only locally owned and operated theater with locations in Baton Rouge and Ruston, guys. Because it's locally owned and operated, you're going to be guaranteed to see a clean facility, better pricing, superior customer service, state-of-the-art technology. Baton Rouge location features the largest arcade in town with over 50 games. Guys, they got weekly specials going on. Senior Savings Night on Monday, Bargain Tuesday, half-priced arcades and college night Wednesdays, and Thursdays where you can get yourself a nice cold beverage before you go see a movie. And remember, they do private events for your corporate party, class, teachers, whatever you got going, your kid's birthday party. They got everything you need to take care of it, guys. Give them an email at events@celebritytheaters.com to get that lined up. All right, so we saw a pretty interesting headline podcast. Every time Ed Ogeron does a podcast, you got to listen to it. So he went to Barstool, and the headline to come out of it was, "I want to get back to coaching." Guys, we'll start with Van. Van, any thoughts on Ogeron wanting to get back into coaching? Are you still rooting for Ed Ogeron?
Yeah, of course. Like, he's a hometown guy. He led us to one of the greatest college football seasons in the history of college football, maybe the greatest college football season in the history of college football. It depends, right? I mean, on the results are going to depend. If Coach O is somebody that's going to go out there and be the same Coach O that he was, particularly the last couple of years he was at LSU, then he can expect the same type of results. But if he's seen just what a devastatingly effective coach he can be when he is fully bought in and concentrating and engaged in being a coach, and he wants to reproduce that somewhere else, I think college football is better off having him. He's a dynamic personality. He's someone that really loves the game. But yeah, it's just something that he's got to be serious about rather than being serious about extracurricular activities off of the field.
He's engaged now, so I do hope that helps. But I guess he was married when he was at LSU, and really the extracurriculars came in once that marriage came unraveled. And I think he did get unfocused. He felt vindicated and all that jazz. Man, it's rough seeing him with Botox up there. Let me tell you, he needs to get whoever did your hair transplant to do his facial stuff, man, because you look great. I don't know about Edo with his it's almost like a poofy face, man. So you got to hook him up with a better doctor. Zach, any thoughts on Ed Ogeron?
Look, I think it's great to see him obviously in front of the mic and doing what he needs to do in that regard. And I'd love to see him back on the sidelines, kind of echoing the same sentiment that Van said. And this is a guy who's good for the sport. I mean, he's fun.
For sure.
He steals headlines. Obviously led LSU to arguably the greatest season of all time. For me, being a relatively youngster, I would say the greatest, obviously. So I'm a little bit biased on that front. But nonetheless, he's good for the sport. This is a guy that you want to have around. And who knows? He could be an elite assistant for a really top-tier program right now and lead a bunch of teams on the recruiting trail. So we know what he can do in that regard. We saw the video that he posted today, obviously, on Pardon My Take, where he was recruiting Joe Burrow and that a long story and stuff. So the guy who's good for the sport. I'd love to see him get back on the sidelines and help out a Power 5 team.
Yeah, and look, here's my take, and I'm going to give this with the LSU lens. I'm going to tell you what is best for LSU here. The best case scenario is that he becomes a head coach at a group of 5 school. Okay, because Ed Ogeron at UL Lafayette or Tulane or LA Tech, and I'm saying local teams for a reason here because, frankly, he would do better at one of those schools. He's not plucking a recruit from LSU. He's just not. I don't think in the history of history, ULL has ever truly beaten LSU for a player that they truly wanted. And probably none of them really have for a guy LSU was putting a full court press on. So that's what I'd like to. Whereas if he goes to Miami and is the D-line coach, you best believe he's coming down to South Louisiana and he's plucking a kid or two from you. That being said, he'd be an excellent hire. He'd be really good for someone like Miami or whomever as a D-line coach on the Power 5 level. That'd be a grand slam. So
did he specify whether or not he was willing to go in and be an assistant? If he wants to be a head coach, I think him in the MAC, him out west, I think it would be a lot of fun to watch. I mean, it's going to be a matter of time before he's at the Power 4 level again if he really wants to coach. But
yeah,
him being a D-line coach anywhere is a nightmare.
It is.
It doesn't matter where it is. It's a nightmare. He knows his area too well. He knows these players too well. He has pipelines into this area. Having resources and going to a place, that's a nightmare.
If you ask people about Ogeron on the recruiting trail before he was at LSU, he was a nightmare for LSU. I mean, so things like Joe McKnight, he really made it tough for LSU in recruiting process. And a big part of why Joe McKnight ended up at USC was actually Ogeron was at Ole Miss at the time and said, well, I don't want to play against him. If you're not going to go to LSU, go out west to USC so I got to play against you every year, and he's a menace in recruiting. And, you really – him in a Power 4 program would be scary. There might also be some smaller Power 4 program who takes him – think like Kansas picking up Les Miles, think who was it? Matt from Texas going to UNC. So I could see a fringe Power 4, one of the lower Power 4 programs, maybe taking a shot, just saying he's got a ring on his finger. He got Joe Burrow. Maybe he can get Joe Burrow again. All right. Let's see here. Any good comments here? Let's get some comments here. Fire3449, who is like a robot with this, but insists he is not. Remember to hit that like button, guys. I was the guy who thought Scarborough looked like Lee Majors. He kind of does look like Lee Majors, man. All right, let's see here. Bayou Bengal. We have depth this year, something that has been hard to keep in the transfer portal. Well, I don't know that you kept the depth in the transfer portal, but you built it in the transfer portal. Oh, here's a good question. Is there anybody who can cover Tradez Green?
Hell
I mean, my answer is no, definitively, right? Like, that's not a hot take, is it?
No, what the only person you could talk about is DJ Pickett. You got a 6'5" cornerback.
Oh.
He hasn't been able to stop him during practice. So, no, I mean, Tradez Green's a freak. We've seen him get to the second level, or the second floor during practice all fall. He's unguardable. It's going to be fun to watch him this year in the red zone.
Sean Trent, love the combination of commentating, guys. Van, glad to see you, bro. That must be one of your buddies or something, huh? Sean?
Could be.
Yeah. Let's see here. And he goes 11-1, crying belly 11-1, count the money 11-10-2, 11-1. If LSU goes 11-1, Mike owes him a dream cake. Yeah, Mike is so negative. It's pretty funny, but if Mike gets excited about something, it's legitimate. 12-0 for H-Town Creole. Man, I appreciate it. All right, let's see if I got any good one. Coach O doesn't get enough credit for the coaching tree that influenced him. You don't want to see Coach O at Auburn. I'll tell you what, Coach O with a bunch of money behind him might be scary, especially if it's like organized money.
Yeah, the Auburn they're never going to go for that.
No, they would never go for it. They would be, they would be destroyed. The planes would be lit on fire if they hired a retread coach. I mean, they almost lit Baton Rouge on fire when they hired Ed Ogeron. I don't know if y'all remember. It was very unpopular at the time. But there was the Cajun contingent that was really supportive of it and cultural fit. And it was a very controversial time in Baton Rouge back in, what would that have been? I guess 2017 off season. Anyways. All right, let's dive into the season. And look, I've got the season pulled up here. So we're going to go take a sidebar. I've got a scoreboard this year. Hopefully that works and doesn't crap out. But I was telling them off the scene, I guess the worst case worse, if it doesn't work, I'll just only have a few thousand of you making fun of me. That being said, I have asked them to come prepared with one bold take. I am hoping their bold take doesn't ruin or spoil their predictions for the season. But we'll start with Van Lathan Jr. Do you have one bold take for LSU football this year?
There's a dark horse player for me for LSU football to be a Heisman finalist. And it's not Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier, some people have him winning the Heisman. This is a really bold, possibly stupid take.
I think I know who it is.
Try to guess.
I'm going to write it down. How about that? I'm going to write it down.
Write it down. Zach, you try to guess too.
Man, it's got to be offensive player, right? So
don't reveal that.
No. Who you got?
I'm writing it down. Go ahead. I don't want to spoil it, but go ahead. I'm locked in.
Man, I think Perk.
Oh,
Perk.
Okay.
I think Perk is going to have a ridiculously dynamic year. Who did you have?
Can you read it?
Whit Weeks. You got Whit Weeks.
The honky badger.
There you go.
That's why I had to ask, man. That's why I had to ask if it was offense or not. I knew immediately you were going Perk if it wasn't offense. I'm with it, man. I'm with it.
So I think Perk is because I'm not down there, so I have to get intel from guys that are down there. But if what I'm hearing is true, if he can be an impact player, particularly against the run, and then if he can cover at the star position, but then make flashy highlight plays, getting after ball carriers and getting after quarterbacks, if he can put together the type of highlight package and be that type of solid defensive player, I think you could see he's the kind of guy that makes splashy enough plays to get consideration for the Heisman. I really do think so.
Wow. That is definitely bold. I love it.
Bold.
Me and Zach were talking on this show. What position does Harold Perkins play? And he plays chaos. That's what he plays in practice. It is you've got two players out there who have shown Badger energy, and that's always a good thing because you got the honky Badger and you got Perkins with what he's bringing, and both of those guys are chaos reapers, and I like it. I like the way they're using Perkins in practice because they are rotating him on the edge. They're using him at star, which is a blitz-heavy position, and frankly, throughout his career, he's always graded out very highly in zone coverage, which is a lot of what he'll have to do at that star position. So this could work. You could see why it could work for Perk. All right, Zach, bold take. What is your bold take this year?
Yeah, man, it's not as bold as that. That's for sure. I love that take from Van. But for me, I feel like a bold take on my end is going to be the LSU defense gets over 40 sacks this year.
40.
Last year they had 34. They were around 7th in the SEC. I feel like when you look at the defensive front right now, Jack Pyburn has been fantastic during fall camp. This is a guy who, in my opinion, has already penciled in a starting spot along the defensive line. Gabe Relaford on the other side. Throw Patrick Payton in the mix as well. You have arguably the top edge rushers haul in the entire conference. And then you look at what Bernard Gooden's been doing in fall camp as well. Pair that with the jump that Dominic McKinley is supposed to make this year as well. It gives you a pretty talented front four, or whatever you want to call it. You throw in what Van just said about Harold Perkins, who we know can wreak havoc in the backfield too. I think it sets the tone for this team to easily get 40 sacks this year. So for me, the bold quote-unquote take is definitely going to be this defense to get over 40 sacks. I think it's attainable. I could go even higher and say 45. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. So for me, it's going to be 40 to 45 sacks this year for the defense.
I'm going to say that's a very plausible one. It is bold, but also looking at what I've seen and by the way, the emergence of Bernard Gooden changes things a lot because now you can't just adjust your block. You have to account for the guys in the center because now you're going 4 deep with quality defensive tackles. You have to account for those guys. So you're going to have to block evenly and fairly. You've got guys like Patrick Payton coming off the bench. It's insane. All right.
Yeah. Surprised at that a little bit. Surprised that he wasn't that you don't see. Is that one of the surprises for you guys that such a ballyhooed transfer is going to be coming off the bench?
Almost as surprising as the use of the word ballyhooed, but yes.
When you look at the guys, Van, that they've been using so far, like it's the workload is what Brian Kelly's been talking about. Like he's still kind of upping the workload for him. He's not used to that so far, and he's getting used to what it's like for life in the SEC. He's going to be used a ton. I'm not buying too much stock in the first 2 guys that go on the field. It's kind of like the wide receiver room. Everybody's going to eat. Like everybody's going to get an opportunity to do what they can on the field. So even if they're going to sit back and talk about who the first 2 out is, it doesn't worry me too much.
Hilariously, this blocked out your face as I put up this comment. A question from LSU TigerBait's Mike Scarborough. Wow. Van Lathan, is Preston tougher to argue with than Scott Jennings?
I got to give it to my guy, Preston, man. Preston brings it. I got to give it to my guy, Preston. Scott, Scott's on top of his stuff. Scott knows his stuff. Nice guy off the show thing, but on the show thing, Scott's a killer. But nah, man, nobody. Remember, nobody puts one past Preston, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, Van. My bold take, and call it a cop out if you want, but I will throw a contingency on it. But I think you'll understand why. If Brian Kelly is telling the truth, and he says he's got a very good eye for offensive lines, and he thinks this is going to be a very good unit, this offensive line, I'm going to define very good as top 15 in the country. Okay?
Really?
Well, hold up. Well, I mean, think about it. At LSU, good would be what? Top 30, top 25. Very good would mean top 15, right? I think that's fair to say. So if this offensive line is very good or a top 15 unit, like Brian Kelly claims it is, or claims it will be, LSU will win the national title. That's my bold take. If you have a top 15 offensive line, you're going to win the national title. I am very high on this football team, guys. I like everything but offensive line on this team. I think all 11 positions on defense are better this year. All 11. I believe in the coaching staff. I believe in the back office of this program. I think this is I can't name a better back office for LSU that they've had with Austin Thomas and those guys doing their thing and the guys they brought in. I think they're highly organized, and I think that they're doing a great job bringing in players, and I think that this is an elite roster composition. I haven't seen it at practice yet to believe Brian Kelly. I think the offensive line is going to be struggling to be an average SEC unit, but if Brian Kelly's right and I am wrong, this team will win the national championship. Does that count as bold enough for y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Question for both of you guys. How do you guys decipher when you're getting obvious coach speak and actual insight from the head coach? Obviously, if there's one position that we're all looking at, everyone is looking at, the whole country is looking at in terms of LSU, is the offensive line position. We're pretty set everywhere else. Like here and there, a couple of other smaller questions. But when he came out and said that, I'm like, I wanted to believe that he meant it, but it's very hard to believe that he did.
It is impossible to truly tell is the answer, but let me layer in some context. Do you remember 2 years ago when we did this show and LSU was a top 5 team? Jaden Daniels coming back for his senior season, and we all had this pegged as a team that would compete for the national championship, and we were all half correct because that offense was historically
the best in the country. Yeah.
Well, one of the best in SEC history. Did you know that
Yeah.
that was the 3rd highest performing offense in SEC history? 3rd. And now number one is 2019 LSU, but the fact that lightning struck twice in Baton Rouge is phenomenal. Okay. If you pair that with any other defense other than 2020 or 2023, that's a national championship. It breaks my heart looking at how good Jaden and Brian and Malik were, and the fact that those guys got stuck with an average season. And it warms my heart to see them win in the NFL because they didn't win at LSU like they should have for how great they were. However, that to say, he came out and said that this team was not quite there yet. He said it when everybody else thought they had arrived and the program was cooking on it. Brian Kelly did come out. He didn't do coach speak and PR speak. So that being said, it's hard to truly tell, but I do know that a lot of times BK doesn't really mince words. Name an example of him unfairly hyping up a player?
That doesn't typically do it. I felt it to be pretty on the nose in this situation. But look, if he's right, nobody would know more than him. If he's right, then your prediction is going to come true.
Yeah, but he also has more reason to. He might be one of the better people to evaluate an offensive line in the country. He also has more reason not to be truthful about it if they are that awful. So I mean, I juggle these things. Zach, do you have any commentary on deciphering coach speak?
I mean, Brian Kelly is probably like he's a politician. I mean, this is a guy who's a CEO and he can go up there and tell everybody what they want to hear, and he's good at it. I mean, this is a guy who when he talks, you listen. It's hard to decipher it though. We've seen him go up there and make some bold claims sometimes, and they haven't all lived up to the hype. So no, I can't decipher it at times, but if he's half right on what this O-line can be, you're going to be in a pretty good spot in 2025, like Preston alluded to.
Yeah. Well, I think half right is enough to get you close, by the way. If you're top 30 of this offensive line, you're still going to be a very, very good football team. The problem becomes if it's an absolute liability, you can't function as a football team. You cannot. All right. All that to say, LSU opens the season 6:30 p.m. August 30th at the other Death Valley. A lot at stake in this game. For sure. Of course, stadium naming rights and all the bragging rights are on the line. But also, LSU has not won an opener since 2019. Georgia Southern coming in to LSU. Joe Burrow and company opened with a win. LSU's not won an opener in half a decade. All right, we're going to start with Van. What's your prediction on the road? This might be the toughest opener during this losing streak. What you got?
They're going to lose. They're going to lose.
Any reason behind that?
It first of all, if Clemson loses this game, it's a pretty catastrophic loss for them. Like ridiculously catastrophic to me. They're going to bring back one of the best defensive lines in the country, some of the best individual players, and they're going to be going up against a O-line that doesn't have any chemistry, hasn't gelled yet, and they'll be learning on the field, trial by fire. If Clemson cannot win this game at home with the types of advantages that they have, it's a catastrophic loss for them. Bringing Cade Klubnik back, all of it. It's a game that really, in the grand scheme of things, when this whole season is said and done, LSU really just needs to be competitive. They need to go out there and not lay a complete and total egg because they should not win this football game. They shouldn't. I've picked LSU in other games, but this of all and all the losing streak, this is the game where the matchups, honestly, they're the poorest of all the games in the losing streak. Maybe we should be able to see what Jordan Travis was going to do against the defense and all of that other stuff, but this is the one to me where I look at it and I go, I don't really see LSU winning this game. But we're going to know midway through the third quarter whether or not this team has what it takes to gel and go on a run and get to the playoff.
Zach, what you got?
Yeah, I'm on the same page. For me, I don't think LSU goes out there and wins that one. Just getting the opportunity to see them over the last 3 weeks, get a feel for what this offensive line's all about. Obviously, they still aren't quite sure with what they have up front. They're still flip-flopping rotations, and we're in week 4. fall camp, and you're 12, 13 days away from that game. So for me, I'm not fully bought in on what the offensive line can do just yet. We know what the Clemson front can do. We know what they bring to the table. It's a strength on weakness is what I've been telling a lot of people. The strength of Clemson is their defensive line. The weakness for LSU is the O-line. And I think it gives the opportunity for Clemson to eat at home. The line's hovering around 3 or 4 points. So Vegas predicts it to be relatively close. But I think Clemson handles business in that one, unfortunately. I think LSU bounces back and goes on a pretty nice streak. We'll get there in these next couple of predictions. But for me right now, I don't think LSU has the firepower to do it just yet in the trenches. The cliche is games are won and lost in the trenches, right? I think Clemson gets it done in this one, and LSU gets a fire lit underneath them for the rest of the year.
I'm going to take LSU to lose this one, and I hate to be 3 guys taking 0-3 for us in this first week. That sucks. But look, here's the deal, guys. There's not a game that you couldn't convince me LSU is better than every team on their schedule. There isn't. I mean, Clemson, the counter against them is, well, they were 9-4 last year. They went 0-3 against the SEC, including losing to South Carolina, who LSU beat on the road. Okay. Dabo hasn't been as spectacular in openers during his time either. And frankly, Clemson, you talk about needing the win. Clemson doesn't have a monkey on their back like LSU does. And Clemson, frankly, should take care of business in the ACC and should have their ticket punched. It does not mean as much to Clemson as LSU. LSU has to go through a gauntlet of their schedule. There is half a dozen teams that are capable of beating you on this schedule. Okay. But in terms of whether or not Clemson is for sure the better team, I could be easily convinced that LSU is the better team and should win this football game easily. Okay. That being said, until Brian Kelly proves me wrong, I'm not picking him in a marquee opener. He has proven in his first 3 at-bats that he has not looked prepared in a single one of these openers. Teams have looked disorganized, chaos. Little things are wrong. The matchup is brutal. Clemson has what is possibly one of the best defensive lines in the country, and LSU's offensive line, it looks like the weakness of the team. So I think a lot of that in combination with, okay, they've got a veteran returning quarterback, and LSU's got a lot of new players on defense who need to learn how to play together and learn how. Perkins is going to be in a new position. He's going to need to be learning that. I'm sure he'll make some plays. He'll make some mistakes. You got, all sorts of guys who have never played together, never lined up together. I think that's going to show. They're going to make mistakes. And I think at Clemson, it's just going to be too much to overcome. I think LSU starts off 0-1. All right. Louisiana Tech, Van, what you got on Louisiana Tech?
This is the most important game of the season. I'm serious. This is the most important game of the season.
Say what you got to say, because I'm right there with you, but say what you got to say first.
I'll tell you what, if you don't win Clemson, it definitely is, because you can't go 0-2.
LSU's not going to lose the game. But this game right here will prove whether or not LSU can take what happened week 1 at Clemson, churn it, and turn it into what they need to go on a run with winnable games, some in conference coming up. Like how they come out of the Clemson game will be on the field against Louisiana Tech. They're going to win the game. They could out-talent Louisiana Tech and win the game, right? Yeah. They're going to win. But in terms of performance, what you need to see and how the team needs to show people their response to what's going to be a tough game on the road in the first week, this is the game that will show me what kind of team we have.
Zach?
No, I mean, you're right on the money. And for me, just throughout practice and whatnot, just seeing all the too deep depth chart and the position battles and all this and all that, you obviously, not obviously, but hopefully you're coming off of a win against Clemson, hopefully. But if you're not, you go into this one in Louisiana Tech, that game gives you an opportunity to kind of dissect that too deep depth chart, see those position battles against an inferior opponent, and see if some guys can really emerge and take on first-team duties. We've seen a lot of guys, whether it's Patrick Payton running with the twos, you look in the defensive backfield, DJ Pickett, Ashton Stamps, P.J. Woodland, all those guys, Jakeem Jackson, all vying for some big-time reps. I think you go into a game like Louisiana Tech and you go out there and get some momentum out there and start to climb up the depth chart even more and make some noise. You get a win, and you win by 35 plus against Louisiana Tech, but getting the opportunity for those backups and the third stringers and the true freshmen, all these guys get their feet wet, I think it's key. So it's a big-time game. Hopefully you're coming off of a win at Clemson, but all of our predictions say otherwise. It's a big-time game. It lets your youngsters get on the field and see if that depth chart can get some shakeup.
I'm not going to waste y'all's time. LSU is going to take care of business. Big win. But next week, that is what I say I think is the biggest game on LSU schedule if they lose to Clemson, because you don't want to start 1-2. 1-2 is where doubt starts to creep in. That is where you start to wonder if the team comes up raveled. We've seen it happen before where LSU has gone 1-2 or 2-2, 2 early losses, and a lot of times that ends up getting the coach fired. I think LSU takes care of business, particularly with a banged up DJ Lagway right now. We don't know how it'll be 100%, but regardless, I think LSU takes the win. Saturday night in Death Valley. Come on. All right, Zach, this is your boy. It's your boy Napier. You love him. Now, he's had some good redemption. He beat LSU last year. What you got?
Yeah, man, I love Billy Napier. I love the kind of what he's constructing out there right now from a roster perspective. He's getting some big-time playmakers out there, and I love DJ Lagway. Do I think DJ Lagway is a proven quarterback? No. He's coming off of his first season. He's been banged up. He hasn't been healthy. He hasn't gone through anything throughout the offseason. He was banged up in the spring, fall camp, etc. A young quarterback needs to get some big-time reps under his belt in order to be kind of serviceable in these big-time games in Tiger Stadium against a big-time LSU opponent. So LSU wins that one. I think it's going to be a good one. It's going to be fun. One of my kind of bold predictions is that LSU can go undefeated at home this year. It's not necessarily bold just because we know that advantage that Tiger Stadium has for the Tigers. But nonetheless, LSU gets a win here and starts to get hot. I think this is where this team can really round the corner and start to make some plays.
Florida has Long Island University. Remember a couple of years ago they had the guy with the funky motion? I used to like watching him. They have Long Island University and South Florida on their schedule before this. So those are two games where they're going to win pretty easily. And then they are going to have to turn the corner, step up, and come into Death Valley at night with a quarterback who has all the talent in the world, but we're going to have to start asking questions about his durability here pretty soon. He seems to always have something nagging going on with them.
Yep.
And they're going to lose. This is going to be, in my opinion, the game where the LSU Python starts to constrict a little bit, where you start to see just how good these guys can be. The offensive line are going to have the reps they need. I think this is the game where it starts. LSU wins.
Van, you want to lead us straight into Southeastern? Any letdown after a big bounce back win?
No, we own Louisiana. We'll continue to own Louisiana in perpetuity. We beat Southeastern.
Zach?
Beat Southeastern by 45 plus. It gives you an opportunity.
Easy.
This is where those true freshmen utilize those 4 games that they can play and still redshirt. I think you'll see some big-time plays from your youngsters. Harlem Berry get in the end zone. You start to see Trades Green probably dominate, just being too big in the red zone. That's one where your young players can eat to the biggest way. LSU gets a big-time win there over Southeastern.
Definitely a win there. Dial a score. Maybe scout out to see if there's a good portal guy that could come to LSU next year and give you some depth. All right. At Ole Miss, this is, of course, going to be a revenge game for LSU, for Ole Miss, I should say, against LSU, because last year LSU pulled a rabbit out of their hat and pulled an overtime win and knocked Ole Miss out of the playoffs. LSU knocked two teams out of the playoffs. They knocked South Carolina and Ole Miss out of the playoffs, and you've got them next back to back. Both are going to be bloodthirsty. Look, Austin Simmons has shown some flashes, but I think this LSU team is going to be cruising at this point. I think they will have found their identity. I think the offensive line, look, they're looking to develop 10. That's Brad Davis's thing. I think of those 10, you'll get 5 for sure. And I think they'll be good enough. And I think at this point in the season, I think that pass rush is going to be too much. I don't think Ole Miss has the talent overall that they had last year. I think last year was their big, heavy shot, and they missed. So I think that they're going to take a step back this year, and I think LSU gets a good win here. I'm not going to say they're going to dominate the game, but I think LSU will comfortably look like the better team. Zach, thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of dabble in the Ole Miss market a little bit, so I've kind of gotten the opportunity to see the team, and see what they're all about and whatnot. And there's a lot of question marks when it comes to their offensive line. They've been banged up a lot during fall camp. Obviously, a first-year quarterback in Austin Simmons. He's talented, man. He's a solid southpaw for them. I love what he can do this year. So I'm intrigued to see what he can bring to the table. But you lose a lot of production. You don't have any returning defensive backs. You went out in the portal and got a ton of fresh faces. So it's going to take time for that team to get things together. I don't think LSU is going to be the game where they can get over the hump and showcase what they're all about. I think LSU gets a win there. It's Ole Miss, man. It's always going to be close. We know that. We've seen that over the last couple of years. But I think LSU gets a win here. I think they're just too talented. And I think at that point, coming off of wins over obviously Florida and then 2 gimmies in Louisiana Tech and Southeastern, gives you the opportunity to continue pushing in the right direction. Too many question marks for Ole Miss right now. I think LSU handles business there and gets a solid win.
Yeah, so I think LSU wins this game. At some point, I remember last year, whatever before, I thought maybe one day LSU would be facing Walker Howard as the starter at Ole Miss. I guess that kind of never materialized. Good luck to Jamie's son. But we are going to win this game. Now, this is going to be the most interesting game of the year because they are going to be hyper motivated to play spoiler here. I should say this as well. Ole Miss University owes me. Yeah, I found something out last year. Okay. This past year, I found out that it was actually my family that started Ole Miss University. That's true.
Huh.
It's true. I'm a Ventress through my great-grandmother's line. I'm not going to get into the whole deal, but one of those guys, signed the bill to get Ole Miss University started as a Ventress Hall there at Ole Miss University. My great-grandmother was a Ventress. She married a Lathan. So, Ole Miss, do what I say.
Take the L.
Take the L. My people started.
You're one of the founding fathers, man.
Yeah, my line, Ventresses started Ole Miss University. Do what I say and take the L. Take your whooping like a man, and that's what's going to happen.
There you go. All right, we're going to get into our first ad break, but when we get back, we've got another revenge game, South Carolina. We're going to go dive into it. We're going to get into the meat of LSU schedule. But before we do that, guys, I got to talk to y'all about my friends, Alumni Hall. Listen up, Tiger fans. Y'all know the best place to get all your officially licensed LSU gear. If you want to look good like Zach Nagy and all his rowback and all that good jazz that he likes to wear, this is the place to go, guys. They're your ultimate shopping destination for LSU fans. They've got it all. Nike, Champion, Johnny O, Honor Reserve, Peter Millar, Southern Tide, hats, Yetis, gifts, accessories. They got the Jaden Daniels jerseys in, guys. Make sure to go check them out. And, guys, if you want to get your order in time, you can shop online and get it shipped. Remember, they're shipping from Baton Rouge, so it's going to get in a little quicker. Free shipping on orders over $99. And, of course, guys, don't forget the promo code TigerBait. That's all one word, TigerBait, in store or online, and you're going to get 10% off your order. And, guys, if you're looking for the best steak this offseason, come pop over after an LSU football game to Struby's, and, guys, they're going to get you taken care of. Really good, delicious, marbled meat there, man. I mean, it is the best steak I've ever had in my life. Located on 107 3rd Street in downtown Baton Rouge, Struby's prides itself on providing a 5-star dining experience for a reasonable price. They're locally owned with ownership in the building daily, taking a level of pride in the food and service you're just not going to see from any old corporate establishment. Struby's features a full menu of specialty meats, including USDA prime Black Angus steaks, 100% certified Wagyu New York strip, and of course, they've got their good stuff off the red meat menu, such as the dry aged pork chop, black truffle lobster pasta, redfish, and plenty more. Book your reservation online at strubys.com. And guys, got to tell y'all about our friends, one of the new sponsors we've added here this in 2025, early 2025, I should say. That is Dykes Electrical, the official electrical company of TigerBait.com. Guys, they are wired for success. No matter how big or how small your needs are, they can take care of it. You need a new 10-story office building, they can wire that. 200 square foot warehouse you need, they can wire that. Expanding your existing commercial building, they got that. They can wire that. Changing out a breaker, whole electrical panel, or just a receptacle in your home office, they can wire that. And upgrading the old lighting in your home or office, they can wire that. Give them a call today at the number on your screen, 225-216-9180 for a free estimate on your project. Make sure to let them know TigerBait sent you in. And guys, whether it's Tiger Stadium with their special LED lights, because they wired those, or Preston's new TigerBait studio that is getting wired right now, they're equipped to handle it. So make sure to give them a call. All right. Van,
so they're coming to do your studio?
they're doing it right now. It's literally, Dykes. They are wiring my studio as we speak on the other side of this house. It is being built. I think next week I will have my studio ready. So right now I am in the future home of Peyton Guy. I'm having a daughter this year in November. So we had to. Yep, that's right. Yep. We got a little girl coming. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. So that's 2 kids. And I needed to shuffle rooms in my house around now to accommodate 2 human beings. So this will be my son's big boy room. As you can see from the dinosaur statue behind me. And
they're in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, here in Baton Rouge. That's right. Thanks. Yeah, that's right. So we're making room, and I had to build on a new studio to accommodate all the people I am creating in this world and repopulating the earth with. So excited for that, because I've needed a little bit of an upgrade. The show's kind of grown to the point where we kind of needed to get a bigger space, bigger studio. So I'm hyped for that. Maybe Van is hyped to play South Carolina. I don't know. Van, how are you feeling about the South Carolina Gamecocks, Lenore Sellers, Dylan Sanders, all those guys?
They have dynamic players. They have playmakers. We're at home. I don't think that South Carolina is going to have the season that a lot of people think they're going to have. Like, I see some places where they have to replace guys, and they're going to be counting on some new guys to step up. This year, to me, isn't the year for Lenore Sellers. He's going to play well. He's going to play well. I'm not saying he's not going to play well. I'm not saying he's going to bust out. But the breakthrough, crazy Heisman year that Lenore Sellers is going to have will happen next season.
You don't think he goes first in the draft like some people are projecting, or second, whatever, high? I'm not
over at the Ringer. Over at the Ringer, we have Todd McShay to do that, right? I think Lenore Sellers is back at South Carolina next year.
I tend to agree, by the way. I think his NFL stock is a little overhyped at this point, because frankly, it's a little wide open this year in terms of who's your top quarterback. I mean, a lot of people are saying Arch Manning will go number 1, and he's played 2 college football games, so it's a little premature if you ask me. So you think LSU does take the win?
We do win this game. Always tough sledding against a conference opponent. We're not going to walk over South Carolina, but I think LSU's clicking by this point, and LSU gets this game.
Zach?
Yeah, I think I'd be going against myself and kind of contradicting what I said before. I think LSU has the opportunity to go undefeated at home in 2025. Just looking at the home slate that they have, I think continues into that matchup against South Carolina. I think they get the win. I do like Lenore Sellers. Do I think he should have been the preseason first-team All-SEC quarterback? Absolutely not. That's Garrett Nussmeier's kind of honor that he should have had. But it's going to be a tough game. We know that. We know what they have. Like Van said, man, they got a ton of dynamic weapons to utilize, but LSU's got a little bit more talent than them. LSU gets the win and kind of keeps this winning streak going. Takes down the Gamecocks at home.
And guys, this is one that I've gone back and forth with because of how good they looked last year and all that jazz. But, I think ultimately football is a game of swings. I think South Carolina gave LSU their A shot last year. They gave them their best shot, and LSU survived it. I think LSU is going to be a much better team. I don't know if South Carolina is going to be better or worse than they were a year ago, but I do know that the odds of them getting their A+ shot 2 years in a row like that, I just don't know that happens. So I ultimately think LSU takes the win here. And that leads us to going to Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt is sneaky tough. I don't think they have the athletes to compete with this year's LSU. I think last year Vanderbilt could have brought an A-plus game. And maybe if that was on the road a year ago, maybe LSU trips up. But I think LSU's just got a sizable talent gap. I love Diego Pavia. However, Diego Pavia is a quarterback. He's tough. He's gritty. He's going to make some throws. He's not a dynamic passer. He's not going to go out there and pass for 525 on you. Okay, so I think LSU takes the win, and I think this is a comfortable like double-digit win for LSU. Zach, what you got at Vanderbilt in Nashville?
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I'm not this Diego Pavia kind of rider. I don't sit here and think that he's this elite quarterback. Like you said, he's not as sharp as a lot of the other players in the SEC. We know that, but we have seen LSU struggle with running quarterbacks in the past with those dual threat guys, whether it's Milroe, etc. We know Pavia, his bread and butter is really putting that shoulder down and really utilizing his legs to get plays. I do think LSU's pass rush and run scheme and everything else can be a lot better this year. We know that they've upped the trenches. I think LSU gets a win here, but it's not going to be a cakewalk. I think this is going to be one that's going to go down to the late fourth quarter. They're going to come in there and try to shock the world. That's their kind of MO now with Pavia there under center. So it's going to be a good game. I think LSU does handle business at the end of the day, but Pavia is going to give them a little bit of some challenges just with his dual threat ability.
Fan?
So another bold prediction that I could have made when we started was that I don't think LSU is going to struggle as much with the running quarterbacks this year.
And I agree. I think you've just upped it so much when it comes to your guys in the trenches with Jack Fiber and Bernard Gooden, et cetera. You've gotten too many dudes in the trenches right now to allow that. And I don't think Blake Baker's going to make the same mistake twice, 2 years in a row. Coming back, second-year coordinator, I think he's going to learn a lot from the mistakes that he made last year.
Well, hot take, they can't do worse.
Right. It's very true. So I think that we're going to be able to contain up front. And then I think we're going to have guys, real athletes that are able to track down quarterbacks, even if they do break contain. I don't think we're going to struggle with it as much this year. So we're going to beat Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is Vandy was a really solid team, better than what they should have been, really well coached. But I think that a lot of people now are not going to want to be embarrassed by Vanderbilt this year. I think there's a lot of confidence there, but there's still a deal in the SEC, a stigma around losing to Vandy. So Vandy's going to need to expect teams' very best shots this year. And I do not think that they're going to be able to beat LSU.
And Texas A&M in Baton Rouge, they beat LSU last year in a complete implosion by LSU, and Marcel Reed comes in the second half, and LSU just had no answers for that. I really thought, look, man, there was a point in that game after Aaron Anderson broke open that touchdown. I thought LSU was going to the SEC championship. I said, dang, they look sharp. And then it just fell apart there. Van, what you think LSU does against Texas A&M in Tiger Stadium?
We win a very competitive game, a very physical game. Going to be a very physical game there in Tiger Stadium with some of the talent that Texas A&M has. Texas A&M has a pretty good offensive line. It's going to be a physical game in the trenches. We're going to win. That game last year was one of my least favorite moments of being an LSU football fan. It was absolutely gutting. This game is our Ole Miss. This is the game where we want the revenge. I think we're going to be motivated. We're going to be at home. We're going to win.
And Zach, I know you said you have a hard cut at 9 p.m. Is that right?
I do. I can go till 9:10.
9:10. Okay, all right. We'll be able to get through it then. Okay, I was going to say because if you need to hop off, we can go straight down the list.
We're good.
But 9:10, I think we're making good pace. All right, tell me what happens in Baton Rouge versus Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think you have the opportunity to obviously bounce back from what happened a year ago. You're at home. I got to stick to what I was saying before about just winning all your games at home. I think you have an opportunity to do that. I think LSU does it. I think Texas A&M is going to be solid this year. Let's not misconstrue what I'm saying here. I think that A&M is going to be a solid team. I just think the home field advantage is going to give LSU too much. It's a casual take. I know it's not this bold prediction or bold take or anything of that nature. I just think LSU has too much talent, and I think they'll be able to bounce back from last year.
I think that Texas A&M game last year was just a combination, just a comedy of errors. Nussmeier just completely.
It's such an outlier. It's such an outlier game. Like I can't think about that game more. Like I didn't sleep for days after that, just watching that second half performance from Nussmeier. It was abysmal. I think he's going to be watching film religiously going into that week. I see no way that they lose that game. I mean, it was too painful last year.
Yeah,
I think Nussmeier's going to cut his interceptions in half this year. I think he throws about 6, maybe a little less than half, like 6 to 8 is kind of where I think he is. And I think his production is going to go up. Okay. But I think this game is one that LSU will have circled. It's going to be at home. It's probably going to be a night game, but we'll see how that lines up. They're going to be prepared for Marshall Reed this time, and I really hope that the running quarterback issue is kind of one they have ironed out. If not, there's plenty of running quarterbacks coming to town, and they'll have to be ready. So that being said, I believe LSU does take a win. So we're starting to look like some sunshine pumpers. We look real negative, but now all of a sudden, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-1 for LSU before their colossal date in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Now, I believe that by this game, Ty Simpson will not be Alabama's starting quarterback.
Interesting.
I've seen him play. I've watched his tape. I'm not a big believer in Ty Simpson. I believe Keelan Russell, Duncanville High School, 5-star quarterback, will be their starting quarterback for this game. And he is a guy who moves. He's a guy who has been in a prolific offense for a very long time. So he knows how to move the football. He is talented. I'm not a huge, let's put it like this. I think Alabama is going to fall back down to earth. I don't think DeBoer is an abysmal coach by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think beating Alabama is going to be this just undoable, daunting task. I think that they're going to be a good football team. That being said, they went 9-4 a year ago, and they're losing their quarterback, and they're losing a lot of talent from that team. Ryan Williams is there, but you got to get the ball to Ryan Williams. And Jalen Milroe, frankly, struggled to get it to him as consistently. And I think Bama's going to be having some issues at quarterback. Not one of those guys on Bama's roster truly convinces me they're a stud. Okay. And I think that LSU's got the dudes to compete this year. I think Alabama will be a team that's a threat for LSU. I think LSU goes into Tuscaloosa and gets the win. And this might be where my sunshine pumping gets the hardest, because I think a lot of people are picking LSU to lose that game in Tuscaloosa. Of course, not an easy place to play, but that being said, it seems like in this series, home field advantage really doesn't particularly matter. In fact, I think the home teams have a losing record in this game. So it's kind of a weird one, but I think LSU takes care of business. Zach?
Yeah, this is where I kind of switch gears a little bit. The sunshine pumping stops at this game for me. I think with that offense that you have in Tuscaloosa, they don't have the best players in the world, but when I look at Ty Simpson, you just got to steer the car. You just got to be a guy who's a game manager. You don't have to do too much. I think that Ty Simpson can be a good quarterback. Do I think he's elite? No. By no of the word at all. No, I don't think he's elite at all. But I think he's a good quarterback, and I think all he has to do is just be a game manager, and it'll allow them to be successful this year. Obviously, defensively, Alabama has a ton of dudes coming back again. Offensively, they have the players that can make plays, but defensively is what kind of separates them from the rest, obviously. I think they're going to give Garrett Nussmeier and the rest of that offense fits. I think if Caden Durham gets stopped in the trenches, it makes that offense one-dimensional again like it was last year, makes it predictable. And I think that's what could give Alabama the edge going into that one. Being at home in that environment, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's tough. Like you said, the home field advantage might not mean too much in years past, but I think it will this year just because it's going to be an electric atmosphere. We're going to see a crazy game. So for me, I got Alabama winning that one.
Well, if Keelan Russell's the quarterback, then LSU will win.
Yeah, they won't lose to a true freshman quarterback, but I don't think he'll be the quarterback.
Yeah, if Keelan Russell's the quarterback, LSU will win. Also, Preston, I want you to understand, if Keelan Russell's the quarterback of Alabama by the time we get to this game, they are in hell.
Oh, right. That's what I'm saying. They've had some struggles. I think Bama's going to struggle this year.
You're talking about DeBoer in a situation where the expectations could not be higher at getting at some point turning his team over to an 18-year-old. He's going to need a steady hand. He needs Ty Simpson to work out.
But wait. Are you saying the whole turn your keys over to a true freshman quarterback, that's not a good way to buy yourself some time? I mean, look at Billy Napier.
That's a completely different situation. Although, and I'll say this with Billy Napier.
Graham Mertz tore his ACL.
Yeah, so that there was an injury that put them in that situation, and then also
that's true. That's true. But Graham Mertz also, he was very mundane. I don't want to say he's bad,
the fan
but
base
he was mundane.
waiting on him to take over. But remember, Kalen DeBoer is taking over for Nick Saban, right? Like he's taking over for Nick Saban. They need to see consistency and competency in Alabama, and I don't know. I personally, I think this is probably a loss. But the thing is, I can very easily see us winning this game. Like, very easily see us winning this game. I just think that the way things stack up, that game will probably be a loss for LSU. More so, last thing I'll say, I know we got to be a little bit concise. Last thing I'll say is the real reason why I'm marking this as a loss is because I don't see LSU as a one-loss team this year. I don't see them as a one-loss team this year. And beyond the Clemson game, this to me is the most natural place, the most likely place for LSU to stub their toe again.
And Arkansas, you think Sam Pittman's the head coach for this game?
I'm not sure. Every time I try to write these coaches off, they pull a rabbit out of the hat. I thought for sure Napier was out of there last year. They pull a rabbit out of the hat. Whether or not it's Sam Pittman, Leo Pittman, Bobby Pittman, whoever, we winning now. We're going to win this game, and this is going to be a get right game for LSU. And again, when we start building some momentum towards the playoff.
Yeah, I kind of echo the same sentiment there. I don't see LSU dropping back-to-back games in 2025. I think they handle business in this one. And my agenda has to say the same, right? Like I said, LSU is going to go undefeated at home. I have to stick to that same kind of bold prediction. To where I think they win all these games in Tiger Stadium. We got Arkansas at home. I don't see them losing that one. Is Sam Pittman their head coach? I think it's a good question, Preston. I think it's definitely a hot topic. I think it's definitely possible that he's not the head coach in Fayetteville. But for right now, I think LSU handles business in that one, no matter who the head coach is.
I hope Sam Pittman's the coach. I love Sam Pittman. He's a good man. I think Arkansas is a program it's not as easy to win at as you might think, although you would hope with Jerry money and Walton money in this era, they should be more primed. I'll say this. Arkansas, look me in the eyes. Do not fire Sam Pittman unless you have a plan to get your NIL in straight and get some elite players to Arkansas. Because if you're not going to bid, it's not like Arkansas is this big talent-rich state. It is a tougher place to win, and you need to level your expectations. Arkansas has overperformed, in my opinion, in a lot of respects over the years. They've had a lot of very good football teams, and I think 9-3 is something that should be celebrated in Arkansas. It is not an easy place to win. That being said, if you're going to make the investment and fire Sam Pittman, get your NILs together. Get that together because you've got the donors in place. You've got
chicken nugget money or something.
Yeah, exactly. The Clinton Foundation money. My God, there's a lot of money.
Have you ever been to Bentonville before?
Nope.
They rich.
There's money. There's just not players, Van. Money don't sack the quarterback on third down.
No, I get it. What I'm saying is I don't know if they care about Arkansas football, but it's definitely not. I'm not saying it's a super ridiculously crazy rich state. Obviously, we know that. But what I'm saying is that there is money if the Walton family or whomever else cared about Arkansas football. They certainly could put money into Arkansas football. They got 5 or 6 Todd Graveses over there. So if they cared, they could definitely put money.
They should. They need, but I don't think I've really seen that yet. Maybe some
I've
Arkansas
never seen it either. I don't know if they care like that. But
you got to get it. You got to get it lined up. And LSU had to do the same thing. They had to open their eyes this offseason and realize that our geographical advantage isn't going to carry us anymore. It just isn't. Right. You got to toughen up. All right, guys. For the sake of time, do y'all mind? Are we all chopping up a W at Western Kentucky?
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna just write down the W here, and we'll skip straight to Oklahoma. I will start with Oklahoma. I think LSU is going to lose a game this year where they're the better football team. Okay. And I think that outside of Clemson, where it's kind of a push who the better football team, I just think the scenario puts LSU on the loser side of that game, and frankly, the context of not being good in openers and all that jazz. On the road, bad matchup. That's why LSU loses that. They're about the same. I think LSU's better than every other football team on their schedule this year. I really do believe that. Okay. However, I think they're going to drop one that they shouldn't. And I think a fired up Oklahoma, I think, coach who's coaching for his life, John Mateer, who probably is going to go through some bumps on the way, learning how to play from the Pac-2 to the SEC. He's going to have some learning curves, but I think that he'll have those ironed out. It's going to be a tough game on the road. I don't know if LSU's ever played in Oklahoma. Okay. It's a new environment. I think LSU is going to be looking ahead to the playoffs. At this point, they're going to be a top 4 team easily. The way I'm looking at it, they are 10-1. They're looking forward to the playoffs, if not SEC championship. Okay. And I think LSU is going to get caught with their pants down. I think LSU takes a loss in Norman, even though LSU's the better football team. I had to pick LSU to lose a football game where I didn't think LSU was the better football team. Zach, go ahead.
Yeah, man. So for the most part, I'm on the exact same page. I think LSU is going to drop a game where they're the big-time favorite and they should go out and handle business, and they drop it. Whether it's Oklahoma, whether it's Texas A&M, or whether it's South Carolina, they're going to lose one of those 3 games, I'm convinced. Obviously, looking at the games that I've picked so far, I've picked them to beat South Carolina and picked them to beat Texas A&M because it fits my agenda of them winning all their home games this year, right? So nonetheless, I think LSU is a super talented team. We've gotten an extremely good look at them during fall camp so far. Brian Kelly's given just unprecedented coverage of the team so far. I think LSU is a 9-3 team right now. The more I get to look at them, the more I get to look at
so you think LSU loses this game?
So I think LSU loses this game right here. Do I truthfully think that this is the one that they lose? It's 50-50 for me. I just think that they lose one of the games, whether it's Oklahoma, South Carolina, or Texas A&M. It just comes down to it right here where we're going game by game right now. I have to pick a third loss, so I'm going to rock with this one. I think LSU's a 9-3 team at this point in time. Obviously, they could surprise me over the next couple of days and start to get things trending in the right direction, really punch Clemson in the gut in week 1, surprise everybody. But for right now, I think it's a 9-3 team. Hopefully, they can prove me otherwise, but they're solid, man. They've got the opportunity to make the college football playoff, but it's going to take some time to kind of work out those kinks.
So here's the rundown of how we're going to wrap up the show before we get into Van Lazen. I'm sorry. I'm just going to let Zach, you got to hop off here in just a second. We're all 3 going to give kind of like a little postseason, like what we think this team does after this regular season we've predicted. Zach, I'm going to go ahead and let you get yours and hop off. Then we'll go through the regular season prediction. I'll go through my final ad break, and me and Van are going to break down what we think is going to happen postseason for LSU. So go ahead and let us know what you're feeling after LSU goes 9-3, Zach.
Yeah, I still think this is a college football playoff caliber team. You have some big-time wins on your resume, of course. Florida's a big-time win. You go to Ole Miss and get a win there. You run the table at home. I think that you can still punch your ticket to the college football playoff just the way that the cookie can crumble. But nonetheless, it's going to be a challenge. Right now, I'm going to sunshine pump and say that they make the college football playoff, get a win in the college football playoff. That's about it. I don't see them necessarily doing too much and running the table and kind of making a national championship run right now. I think you got some teams like the Texas Longhorns are kind of outliers to a certain degree. I think Arch Manning, all he has to do is steer that car to make that team successful. So I think they make the college football playoff right now while I'm sunshine pumping after being negative and saying they go 9-3, right? So I think they make the college football playoff, get over the hump there. Baton Rouge doesn't catch on fire quite yet, and we see what happens from there.
And real quick, do you think LSU hosts a playoff game in Baton Rouge?
Man, I hope so. I think that would be one of the most electric atmospheres really in the history of the
It'd almost be worth losing 3 games just
right.
To get it. I don't know. I haven't actually done the odds as whether they'd be seeded high enough, but I do know at 9-3, LSU has roughly historically a 1 in 5 chance to make the playoffs. So Zach, I appreciate it. You can hop off whenever you need to. Appreciate you. 9-3 with a playoff appearance and a playoff win, possibly hosting a playoff game in Tiger Stadium. That would be a lot of fun. All right, Van, what does LSU do at, Gaylord Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma?
I'm gonna make this pick in a way that John Mateer will understand. I bet you anything that LSU. I bet you anything that LSU beats Oklahoma. We're a 10-2 football team. We're going to beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a team that I think is going to be improved. There are a lot of reasons to be improved. John Mateer is a quarterback that I don't think a lot of people saw from his time up there in the Pacific Northwest, but he is an incredible, capable quarterback, and he's going to have a good season, and they're going to be playing very well right here. But I think that LSU is going to have a lot to play for in this game. And
definitely,
you are going to get, in my opinion, an LSU team that's very motivated and comes out and wins the college football game that they need to punch their ticket to the playoff. They will beat Oklahoma.
All right. We're going to get to our postseason analysis. I do see a fun comment here. I'm going to pop up. I know I haven't gotten to hardly any comments tonight because if I get to too many comments on this show will go 2 hours. It is kind of crazy. Big Van Lathan fan, that's from Stephanie Jeebies. Loved you on the rewatchables today. Any hints on upcoming movies?
You guys don't understand about the rewatchables. I legitimately don't know until Bill asks. Bill has it in his head what he wants to do until he asks. Until he goes, Van, how do you feel about the movie Tango and Cash? Like until he asks, I don't know what the movie is going to be. So I wish I could give you something. I would love to irk him and annoy him by giving away a movie we're going to do, but I don't know until he asks me.
By the way, Todd Davis pointed out, if we're correct, Vegas is going to get crushed. Did you know Vegas has LSU at 8.5?
Yeah. Look, the team, this is one of those years, man. It's one of those years where, to me, the team could legitimately go 11-1, or the team could go 8-4. Normally for me, and I'm saying this because normally I am always skittish on teams that do not have dominant or capable offensive lines. Always. The offensive line is just such an important position in today's college football. I'm always skittish. However, I do think that with the players surrounding the offensive line and the talent on the offensive line, that we're going to get to a point where we're going to see pretty decent offensive line play. Not dominant, but pretty decent. But if we don't see decent offensive line play, if we see a team that can't run the ball and can't protect, then all the other talent that we have on the offensive side of the ball is not going to matter. So it's really going to depend on how quickly the offensive line gels, which is why the Louisiana Tech game is going to be so important, because they're going to have the opportunity to play live football and get more reps and gel in that game and start getting ready for the run.
By the way, I legitimately don't mean this as cliche when I say this because it sounds cliche, but I think the ceiling literally is 12-0 for this football team. I have been, really, tell me a team on the schedule that you can't construct a valid, strong argument that LSU's the better football team than and will win that game.
I mean, to be honest with you, outside of the Clemson game, which I think is going to be a strength on a weakness, we talked about that.
Yeah.
If they're playing their best football, all of these teams have so many questions. This is a year of upside in college football, period. Like Arch Manning, Texas is a really well-constructed team, right? Really well-constructed team. Some big-time players on defense, some big-time they don't have the same problems that LSU has. But still, though, it's going to really rely on Arch Manning. You have so many unknowns. There are unknowns at Ohio State. There are unknowns at Penn State just because they've never really won. There's not really a place where you are 100% dialed in on this team having everything it needs to make a run. So you can see LSU beating all of these teams. You could also see Florida being an incredibly dynamic team. You can see South Carolina, Lagway being an incredibly dynamic player. You could see Simpson figuring it out and learning how to be the point guard that he needs to be at Alabama. You could see these teams having better seasons than we expect them to. It's not out of the ordinary, right? Or out of the realm of imagination. But I look at this, and with what we've put on the field and the roster that we have, Like all of these games are winnable, man. All of these games are winnable, and most of these games we should be favored in.
You dodge the teams that aren't winnable. Here's the thing about evaluating LSU schedule in most seasons is to say that they're going to go undefeated means they're one of the best teams in the country, if not the best, because you've always had that Saban Alabama team. And to beat Saban Alabama, you basically have to be the best team in the country. It's basically what that comes down to. Okay. So you don't have that. You dodge that this year. There's no Ohio State. There's no Texas. There's no Georgia. None of that. Now, Clemson is number 4, but I mean, even Clemson, I can construct a pretty strong argument as to why. I'm not saying they're frauds, but I'm saying there's an argument constructing as to why they could be frauds. Van, are you a big oyster guy? Do you like oysters? Love it. Dude, I love me some good char-grilled oysters. And let me tell you the best place to get it. It is Bay's Oyster Bar. They opened this summer downtown Baton Rouge, guys. We went out there, did a live show at 315 North Boulevard. The old Jolie Pearl oyster, for those of you who are familiar with that, guys. They're serving up the freshest farm-raised oysters straight from Grand Isle. No mud, no grit, just clean, delicious flavor. Whether you're looking for char-grilled, fried, raw, guys, they've got it all. Real good, real clean oysters. I hate going out and getting, especially raw oysters, and getting out, just muddy, gritty. It's some fry cook who's been, making, French fries all day, and then they got to go shuck some oysters. No, full-time dedicated oyster shuckers on staff every day making it, guys. Real good, clean stuff. They also have a variety of oyster types. They have Gulf oysters. They have East Coast, West Coast oysters. Okay. And they're funnily, they all have a different taste, shape, size, consistency. Real good place to get your oysters if you're oyster lives, guys. Guys, if you're not an oyster fan or you're getting dragged out there by an oyster fan, guys, you can do boiled shrimp. Try their turkey brie po' boy. They've got a bacon sandwich, classic roast beef. Guys, they've got plenty of good food, great open bar, fully stocked bar featuring top-notch bourbon, craft beer selection. Don't miss out on Baton Rouge's newest oyster spot, and make sure to let them know that TigerBait sent you in. And guys, I got to tell you all about our friends, Genesis of Lafayette, guys. They are Lafayette's premier luxury dealership, offering the finest cars and SUVs in the region, coupled with the best service anywhere. Genesis of Lafayette has a huge inventory of new and certified pre-owned Genesis vehicles for a truly first-class automotive experience. It's Genesis of Lafayette, 6600 Johnston Street. Here to exceed your expectations. Genesis of Lafayette. Shop us online at genesisoflafayette.com or call them at 877-856-2961. And guys, if you've got low energy or low drive, Rejuvenate Medical offers testosterone treatment that helps you get back feeling strong, sharp, confident, kick fatigue to the curb. Visit rejuvenemedical.com.
I've noticed that my mental clarity is better. I'm able to focus more. My energy levels are up, and I bounce back in the gym more like I'm in my 20s and 30s. I feel like myself again, stronger, sharper, and ready to take on anything.
And guys, one thing we try to do with all our TigerBait sponsors is partner with locally owned businesses we've experienced firsthand and we know can endorse to provide an outstanding experience to all of our listeners. This football season, we're proud to add Capital City Grill to that lineup. Located at 100 Lafayette Street in downtown Baton Rouge, Capital City Grill is your ideal lunch and dinner stop for your casual dining experience. Capital City Grill features a variety of sandwiches, burgers, seafood pasta, steaks, and more, with almost everything priced at $30 or below for an affordable experience. Don't forget to celebrate a Tigers win at their Sunday morning brunch, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Book your reservation online at capitalcitygrill.net. Okay, so I told y'all when we came back from break, we were going to talk about the bigger picture for LSU, because at 10-2, I mean, that's no longer, well, that was a good season, but, I guess the Sugar Bowl's all right. Or, maybe if you're lucky, hey, let's win the SEC and do all that. Zach, Van, in your hypothetical 10-2 LSU world where they have one loss in the SEC, it's at Alabama, does LSU make it to the SEC championship?
I think so. I think they make it to the SEC championship. I've heard a lot of different SEC championship predictions. I think it's LSU Texas in the SEC championship game. But
And does LSU have the dudes to take on Arch Manning and a talent-rich Texas team?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to do a little bit more of a Texas deep dive. It's all going to depend on how dynamic Arch Manning is. You guys, I know we have this tenuous relationship with the Mannings, the Manning family. They're here in Louisiana. They really from Mississippi, honestly, but they from here in Louisiana. They've never sent anyone our way, but in my heart of hearts, I believe that Arch has the goods. I just think that I think that he's a real deal. I believe that Arch has the goods, and if he does, it would be a tough out for us. It would be a tough game for us. But if he doesn't, if Arch Manning isn't dynamic, if he's serviceable, some people are saying, well, he could be, a runaway Heisman candidate, a guy who's going to take college football by storm, or he could just be a serviceable guy. If Arch Manning is just serviceable this year, Texas is in trouble. Not in trouble from a standpoint of they won't be a team that wins games, but in trouble from the standpoint that they will not be a dominating team. They'll be kind of basically what they were with Quinn Ewers at quarterback. And LSU could beat that team.
So you think LSU wins the SEC this year?
It legitimately, the reason why I'm hemming and hawing is because I do not think this is an SEC championship team. I think it's a playoff team. I think it's a team that if it gets the right draw in the playoffs, could go deep in the playoffs. In terms of beating Texas in the SEC championship game, it's going to depend on how Arch Manning plays and like how good he really is to me. And I won't know that until the season starts.
Yeah. And so we're taking LSU at either 10-2 or 10-3, I guess. I'll say this. If LSU loses the SEC championship, they did set a precedent last year. They are not going to punish the loser of conference championships.
Yeah.
And I think that's an excellent precedent because if you had done that last year, the conference championships were dead. All these conferences were going to kill them because they're like, why am I risking an extra team in the playoffs when, we could just not do this and get an extra spot? Is it to hell with that? We're not doing that. You took SMU out because they lost to Clemson. Well, SMU was clearly in before that. Well, they set the precedent. So I think the precedent is now that LSU would be safe if they lost that. So LSU would probably
a 10-2 regular season. LSU's in the playoffs.
Right, but 10-3 is the question here. And yes, 10-3 with SEC loss would get them in. Is what I'm saying.
So I do this weird thing where I don't count the championship game as a part of the regular season. To me, that's the first game of the postseason.
Yeah.
That's a championship game, right? So I think if LSU goes 10-2 on this schedule, they make the playoff.
Yeah.
I think that they make the playoff with that, even with a loss in the SEC championship game. Now it depends on what kind of loss. If things are tight with some other teams popping up, depending on things that happen in other conferences, and you go out there and you get ran, that might turn some people in the selection committee off. But if they play a competitive game against Texas in the SEC championship game, then I think they make the playoff, even if they lose.
I think 10-2 is a guaranteed in the SEC with a brand like LSU. Guaranteed, you're making the playoffs. Nothing else matters. Lose the SEC championship, don't care. I do not care that you are in a 12-team playoff at 10-2. As for me, and what I believe this postseason odds are, because you're basically saying make the SEC championship and possible to do some damage, but you don't see this being a championship team. I don't think LSU is going to make the SEC championship in my world where they lose to Oklahoma. I think that there's probably going to be two teams that finish with one loss or more. And I think that especially if those two teams are Georgia and Texas, I think LSU's out of conference loss will put them ranked lower than them. And I think that LSU is going to be like third in the SEC sitting at home for the SEC championship. That being said, I've always had this analysis when it comes to LSU and actually winning the championship, I think getting to sit home and watch football for an extra week, that helps your football team. It's like an extra bye week. It's almost like a punishment getting to play in that game. And maybe I'm still salty from 2011 where Bama got to sit home while LSU played Georgia, and then LSU got to play Bama with an extra week of rest. And some people will point to, well, you had 30-plus days after that. And I'm like, well, it's still extra rest. Maybe I'm just salty from that after all these years, but I still don't look at that as necessarily a negative thing. If your goal is to win a national championship, to get that extra week, and now it especially doesn't hurt if you have to play in the first round of the playoffs. And I do think LSU will have. I don't think LSU's getting a bye. Even though the buys are all out large, it's going to be the top 4 teams of the country. I don't think 10-2 is going to be good enough to get that bye. I think LSU is going to host a home playoff game. I think LSU is going to blast whoever they play, particularly if the team sneaking in or anything like last year's team sneaking in. And I think LSU's got a good chance to advance to the semifinals. I think LSU's got a really good chance to be one of the last 4 teams standing.
I'm going to ask you a question now I want to ask you. This is an LSU historical question real quick.
Okay.
If you could change 2 college football results in history, non-LSU games.
Okay.
Which results would you change?
Oklahoma State, Iowa State, 2011.
That's the number one. Okay.
By far.
That's obviously
I get one more non-LSU result.
No, I mean, that's the number one. That should be every LSU fan's number one answer. That's the number one. What's the second one?
Yeah, non-LSU game. I'm trying to think what other team was close to a championship for LSU that LSU would have not needed. LSU would have needed help outside to win a championship. Maybe 2012. I mean, 2018, they were clearly definitely far off. And then my next best guess, if I can't think of an LSU team that was close enough to win it with some help. Oh, you know what? How about this? I got one. No, because LSU lost to Georgia in 2005 in the SEC. I was going to say, what if Colorado had upset Texas in the Big 12 championship and LSU snuck in 2005, but then LSU got smashed by Georgia, so it didn't matter because LSU was sitting there at 3. I remember that, and I remember rooting for Colorado that day. But, oh, man.
I'll give you one.
Okay.
So I would change Oklahoma versus Kansas State in the Big 12 title game.
03?
From 03. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because if Oklahoma wins that game outright, and then an undefeated Oklahoma team,
it's not a split championship.
We don't split the championship.
Yeah, because you understand people were touting that Oklahoma team in 03 with
That's
Jason
the greatest
White,
greatest
team of all time. That was the hype.
Greatest team ever. So if they don't stub their toe at Kansas and then we beat them, I mean, we won the national championship in 2003. I'm just saying there would not be a split national championship if that wouldn't have happened, because I believe even if Oklahoma beats Kansas, we still thrashed them in the Superdome.
Yeah, I'll take you one better. How about UCLA USC 2003? How about USC just takes an extra loss, or how about Michigan USC? How about Michigan beats USC in the Rose Bowl instead of
that worked either way.
Yeah,
either way that
would do it probably a little bit stronger, actually. But yeah, right. That's a good point. But I will say this: the resume of that 03 LSU team would be way up there if Oklahoma had pulled off that win in the Big 12 championship. But that's a very good hypothetical. I definitely think number one is that Iowa State matchup against what was that, 52-48 in triple overtime, something like that, or against Oklahoma State. Yeah, reverse that one, and LSU just curb stomps. I mean, destroys Oklahoma State. And we're sitting here debating who's better, 2011 LSU or 2019 LSU. It's like 2011 was the defensive GOAT and 2019 was the offensive GOAT. But
you know what's funny? I could talk about this all day, but the funny part of it is I remember watching the end of that Oklahoma State game and going, that was it. I had no confidence going into the Bama game.
None? Man, I was drinking the Kool-Aid. And we have a staff writer here, Brian Lazar. He was convinced LSU was getting their butts kicked in the rematch because, they outgained them by 100 yards and they missed 4 field goals and blah, 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 blah. I thought LSU was going to be dominant because it's like, well, they went on the road to Alabama. Now it's in your backyard. Lo and behold, you show up. It's a 50-50 stadium. It's half Alabama fans there. LSU just – I guess in retrospect, I should have known Les Miles versus Nick Saban, but I think that's the game where Nick Saban became the GOAT, right? He had 2 national championships going into that game. That was 3. And that's where it's like, this isn't like an Urban Meyer run. This isn't like a Pete Carroll run. This isn't like a Kirby Smart run, which would have been down the road, of course. This is something different.
I remember the end of the game when Nick was on the field. He was so happy. That smile couldn't have been bigger because Les Miles started off his career having some success against Nick Saban. And if Nick Saban would have lost twice in the same season to his old job, he beats LSU, he loses to LSU at home, and then he loses to LSU in the Superdome. That was sneakily a big game for him, like you just said. He was relieved to have won it. He was not that he didn't think that his team was better than LSU, because even after in the post game after the loss, he was talking about the ball hit the wire and all of this stuff like this. He already started working the national media to get another shot at LSU, right? He'd already started working them, but he was relieved to have won that game. Another low point for me.
Yeah, that was that was a time because you had half the people saying, well, I mean, they still put together a great team, won national, and half the fan base wanted to fire Les Miles right then and there. They're like, are you kidding me? You do that in the big game spotlight like that? You don't even play Jarrett Lee. By the way, Zach Mettenberger was on that roster, by the way, as well. And I always think back to myself, I would have turned to Zach Mettenberger, but then again, there's probably not much LSU could have done to win that game. But
they could have tried something else. I will go to my grave saying Jarrett Lee should have been put in the game. Jarrett
Lee was horrible against Bama his whole career. I think you should have skipped over him.
But what I'm saying is at the point that we should one day just go back and litigate our toughest LSU fandom moments. But at the point that we couldn't do anything, I almost tore a bar in Hollywood apart. Like, I had just started at TMZ. People knew I was the big LSU guy at TMZ. It was the big deal. And like, the game almost cost me my career. So I was so pissed off. It ended up, my skin was burning with frustration, about what was going on. Try anything, man.
I just can't believe they thought, well, the stretch option is going to be the play that works because it worked in Bama. It's like, you think Nick Saban's not going to adjust for that? And they had Greg Stradrawa calling plays back then, who was technically an interim OC, by the way. But a lot of people forget that. And he just really wasn't a sharp offensive mind. And Les Miles certainly wasn't a sharp offensive mind. But, man, you got me down memory lane here.
I'm sorry.
Reminiscing.
Throw that at you.
It's just so, I don't know, man. It's still so. I got in trouble on Twitter the other day, as I often do, for saying that I believe that's the most painful loss any sports team has ever had to any sports team. And maybe that's home cooking and bias, whatever. But look, we're talking about a team that was going to be your greatest team in school history. They had beaten more top 25 teams than anybody at that point. They dominated the whole way. Okay. And then you lose in the championship game to your former coach, to your division rival. Okay. And they wax you in your own backyard and on a stage that you have dominated. The LSU in the Sugar Bowl for the Natty.
We win.
They kicked your freaking ass. Okay. Yeah. That's how that worked until that day. The juju was all, there was even juju like, okay, every 4 years, LSU's whipping up a special team and winning the national title every 4 years in the Superdome. It's like magical. And then that magic ripped away. It was faded apart. And then Saints fans got on me because they're like, but Preston, the no-law, no call. Did you see that? Yeah, I was there. I paid $1,000 for the tickets, guys. I was there. All right. I was pissed too. But you know what? First off, if the Saints had never won a Super Bowl, I would get it. Saints did win a Super Bowl. What was that? 8 years before. Okay.
Mhm.
Number two, context is what makes losses painful in sports. And you look at the context. Yes, it was a blown call. Blown calls happen all the flipping time. You still, by the way, had a chance to go back and win that football game. You still don't throw an interception in overtime. How about you execute on that drive? Anyways, all that to say,
there are only two games. There are only two games that I will put up against it outside of my own fandom.
is it Nola no call? Is that one?
No, it's not.
Okay. All right. I've heard some, by the way, other
If
fans weren't too interested. It was the Saints fans with some friendly fire that were all
If
after
you
me.
if you are a Saints fan, the Nola no call that's regular.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
look,
that.
Saints losses are painful. Like,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
Minnesota Miracle. I mean,
yeah, that's
dude,
what
I'm
happens
just
to us.
used
Like,
to it, man.
We got over the hump. Maybe we will again, but that's regular. I would say a 28-3 for the Falcons. And
Yes, no, that's the
Tom
one
Brady
where I look
situation.
at it and I'm like, yeah, 28-3 might be more painful.
Or, well, you know what? I would say this, but in hindsight, it's not. I would say perhaps the Patriots right on the precipice of history and losing that Super Bowl to the Giants with the
Tom
David
Brady talked
Tyree
about that. Yeah.
incredible catch. The only problem with that is they went on to win like 4 more Super Bowls or something like that, at least 3 more. So,
Well, yeah, 3 more. They had won 3 already.
they had won 3 already. So they came
But
back.
it's the greatest team of all time.
Right. So that loss for them, I'm sure it still haunts them. But then they go get one they're not supposed to get, and then they win like another one that they weren't supposed to win if they would have just handed the ball to Marshawn Lynch. So it's like they probably the sting of that loss, if you're a Patriots fan, you won so many Super Bowls and you pulled so many rabbits out of so many hats, it probably doesn't feel the same.
Well, and I'll say this. If you want to talk about context outside of other seasons, LSU lost 8 straight games to Bama. You know how much each one of those losses just stung? Because like every time you lost to Bama until 2019, it's like, you got to remember that Superdome loss. Okay. But in all fairness, LSU's also won 3 championships this decade, and they're one of 3 teams to do it. So there is that lightens the load a little bit, but you know, I will say that those are 2 great Super Bowl losses you're bringing up that I think are close. I don't think you can definitively say they are more painful, because then you also have to add in your former coach at LSU. Okay.
Yeah.
Division rival, all that jazz that goes into it that made it extra painful. It could be, but 28-3, that is a brutal loss. And think about what that would have meant for the Falcons, because they haven't won diddly squat. I mean, that would have been everything. And Matt Ryan now goes down as a choke artist. And hilariously, Matt Ryan choked like 3 other games that was 28-3 or worse in his career. Anyways, and then the legacy of that greatest team of all time for 07. Yeah, I'm there. I don't think the Nola no call's more painful than any of those. And look, if there's any Saints,
that's not even close.
It's just not. Like the Saints choked that game. They did. They had the ball first in overtime with a chance to win it with rigged NFL overtime rules back then, where you score a touchdown on your first drive, you win. And they threw an interception. So I don't feel all that bad. Although if they did, they should have won it. It's definitely top 10 most painful losses. I get it. But guys, that was not a special Saints team. That offense had slowed down tremendously at the end of the season. That wasn't going to be the Saints' best team of all time. And you already did get that Super Bowl. Guys, not close. Anyways, Van, dude, we got to do a show one day where we don't have an agenda, just to talk about like whatever, man.
Just talk about LSU, talk about, some of our greatest memories. My greatest memory, Green catches the ball, Mock to Green. I was in Tiger Stadium for it, like crazy.
Georgia 03, right?
Georgia 03. Me and Tommy Talley. Shout out to Tommy Talley, my friend Tommy Talley down there.
What a dude, Tommy Talley.
Like we were there. Oh, you know Tommy?
No. I'm just.
Oh, okay. I was about to say.
Just going with the narrative here. I'm just like, what a guy.
That's my guy.
Talley.
But we were there.
He sounds like a guy.
He's a great guy. Like Lehigh's own Tommy Talley. We were there. And again, so no, we can have all kinds of conversations. I love talking to LSU.
Me too, man. Do you enjoy talking? So you do a lot of political type content and cultural type content. What do you enjoy more? LSU or all that jazz that you've built your platform on?
Let me tell you guys something, man. What are the two older gentlemen that come on TigerBait?
Yeah, it's Buddy Sanji and Mike Scarborough.
Okay. One time they were doing a practice report outside of LSU. Maybe this was last year, maybe it was the year before. And not Mike, but the other gentleman. He said, we live in hyper politicized times. And he goes, politics divides us. Politics divides us. Politics divides us. Like, there are a lot of things to fight for, of course. Fight for my community in Baton Rouge all the time. It's like a lot of things to fight for. But an LSU game is, people feel whatever they feel. Like, an LSU game is indicative of the community that I come from. A community that's celebratory, that loves football, that loves to have a good time, that loves God, that loves culture. Plenty of problems, plenty of things going wrong in Baton Rouge and Louisiana, plenty of historical pitfalls, all that stuff. We could talk about all of that stuff, but on Saturday we talk about football, and that's meaningful to me.
Oh, it's powerful. It is definitely unifying. And me and you had a short private conversation about this, how like I hate injecting politics into what I do. And it's because of what you're saying. It is just so gosh darn divisive. I also feel like I shouldn't use my platform to do that. Like, you've earned a platform to talk about politics. I don't think I've earned that. I think I've earned a platform to talk about how Nussmeier is about to hang 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns this year. All right. That's the platform that I've earned. And I think, it's okay when politics guys talk sports, because you're not going to come up here and influence people who to vote for and determine public policy based on if you think Nussmeier is going to win the Heisman or not. It's not going to influence.
Is he?
Stuff. Anyways. Oh, boy, you like asking these open-ended questions. He's going to come close. He'll be a finalist. He'll be a finalist. I think
I can deal with that.
I think 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns is what we're going to be looking at. And it'll be good enough to get him there. He'll be good. I don't know if he wins it, but let me say this also. Arch Manning has the lowest bar to win the Heisman this year. I'm very adamant on Arch Manning is a good, not great quarterback. Good, not great. Everybody thinks I'm just a hater, but you got to understand, when you get glazed that hard, it's really, really hard not to come off as a hater. And Van, I love the kid, and Cooper Manning was really polite and cordial and helpful for me in the process. However, I can't help but look at those losses against LCA in the playoffs where, he throws for 98 yards, and looks very mundane. And he did that a lot of times. Now, I understand Newman wasn't a powerhouse, but he had some guys. He had a tight end there. He had, future LSU linemen. The Bordelon brothers were blocking for him, particularly the older one, Bo. But all that to say, and even in 7-7, he would sail guys. He's good, not great. I've always thought he was a top 10 quarterback. I didn't think he was like the highest rated recruit of all time. But that being said, because of that last name, you best believe he's going to need to accomplish the least of anybody in the country to go win the Heisman. Okay. I think 30 touchdowns from him in a strong season, and he very likely could win. And he's surrounded by a stacked team and a quarterback-friendly offense. Sark knows how to get the ball. So I'm not predicting he'll win the Heisman, but I am predicting he has the lowest bar. And I think ultimately it's going to be someone who comes out of nowhere. But I think Nussmeier will be a finalist based on what I'm seeing. So, anyways, appreciate you tonight, Van. And look, you want late, man. You were like, let's talk some more ball after we're done here. So
give the people a show.
Whatever. I got nothing going. Let's do a long show. Let's have some fun with it. Appreciate you. Do you want to give a shout out? Usually you decline this, but how can people keep up with your work?
Just at Van Lathan on Twitter and Instagram. You'll see me. I'll be around. You don't have to look to find me. Love my state. Love LSU. Preston, thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you for joining, man. This is one of my favorite shows we do every year. Thank you guys for watching. Y'all make sure to tune in, like the channel, subscribe to the channel. This keeps on growing every year. Appreciate all your comments and sharing the show. Y'all make sure to keep it up. Next week, we'll get to a lot more comments, as next week We got football to talk. We got a game to talk about next week. We're not talking a hypothetical season long. We're talking about Clemson. So we'll see y'all next week. And of course, after the Clemson game, join in for me and Mike for the post-game show. And y'all make sure every Wednesday at 6 p.m., Mike and Buddy do their live show. Y'all make sure to tune into the channel. We'll send you your notifications. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have an excellent evening.
Peace.